G'day, I'm Ralph Schwartz. Welcome to Geoterrics Outdoors Australia and part 3 in the A Day in the Outdoors With series. Today my guest is someone who's a YouTube legend, one of my absolute favourites and a must watch at 8 AM every Saturday morning. He first started a YouTube channel in 2014 and started off as a DIY guy. He professes to be an expert in nothing, but when you watch his videos you soon realise that that's a load of crap, because he knows how to do almost everything. His most recent project, which is the site that we're standing on now, his love project, is an outdoors build of a natural materials shelter. You may know him, you may have seen him before. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Alex Does. Hey Alex, thanks for coming along and agreeing to be on my channel. And
pleasure's all mine.
Fantastic. So I guess we'll start off with, tell us what Alex does, and you yourself, what it is that you provide to the YouTube and greater community.
Oh wow, what do I provide? Something to do every 8 o'clock every Saturday morning for half an hour. Look, all I really want to provide to anyone that views my channel is just some light-hearted entertainment that's not too serious. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's just interesting to watch a journey that a guy goes through trying to do something, be creative in some way, shape or form, whether it be building a shelter or cooking a fancy meal out in the bush and just getting outdoors. Someone who doesn't take themselves too seriously.
Fantastic. Well, I think you've achieved that. Thanks. Tell me how you got started.
Yeah, well, that's a long story. So wanting to be on YouTube is something that I'd always wanted. I can remember a day, it was probably back maybe 2003, around that era, and I remember standing in front of the television watching the news and the story come up, and someone was introducing this concept or idea that was coming of YouTube, that you were going to have a platform on the internet where any Tom, Dick or Harry could film a video of themselves and produce their own TV show, you know. And I thought straight away, that's what I want to do. I want to have a channel or be doing videos for people, showing them how to do stuff. And it wasn't so much that I would ever consider myself an expert on how to do anything in particular, but I've always relied on myself to do things. And I would often get comments from people saying, how do you know how to do this? How do you know how to fix that? Normally it's because I never had any money to pay someone to do it for me. Yeah. And it normally ended up costing me more money to do it myself and learning through mistakes, but that's something that I wanted to do. Plus I enjoy the creative process. So it took a few years before I took the leap and started a YouTube channel, which I did in 2014. And so I started a DIY channel. And I probably got out of it about as much as what I put in. I didn't take it too seriously. I uploaded a few videos on how to do various DIY tasks and fix things.
DIY in what area?
DIY. So I did, my first video was 2 videos on how to install a TV antenna socket in your house. And thanks to that being shared on some Japanese site that I can't read any of, it's still my most popular video. It's the most viewed video I have on my channel every month, and I uploaded that in 2014. I've gone back and watched it and it's absolutely terrible, but it makes me more money than any other video I've ever done.
Fantastic.
Today. So there's stuff like that. I think that I did a video. My most popular ones are stuff where I fix car stuff, like how to change transmission fluid in a car, and there was one how to change a fan belt on a car, and they're really, really popular. So I'm kind of kicking myself in a way that I didn't stick with that genre, because it would have been a lot easier to be successful than doing the outdoor stuff. But life changes, and I then found myself single, and I went through building a motorhome that I live in, so I did a series on that, which was quite popular. And then I went through a period where I wasn't making any videos at all, and looking for a bit of a purpose in life and something to focus on for many reasons. I wanted to get outdoors just to get a bit of physical activity and be a little bit fitter and healthier, plus mental health reasons, just to give me something to focus on. And so I decided to I'd been watching a lot of outdoor stuff, a lot of hiking stuff and camping stuff, and I decided to give that a go, and I enjoyed it, so I took a camera along and started filming. And I've done that consistently now for the last 18 months.
Well, I think we can all agree that we're glad you did. Because, you know, 8 o'clock Saturday morning, 8 a.m.
8 a.m. every Saturday morning. Yeah.
Is religious viewing for me when I'm home.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Oh, mate, it's yeah. Look, this journey, as you say, the Bushcraft shelter, which has been your most recent project, and that's been almost an all-consuming project on the channel.
Very much so.
How many episodes now?
One episode every week, and I've been coming here now for just on a year. So I think it's worked out. I'm doing a montage video at the moment, which will be released on Christmas Day, which will be, I think, before this video for you comes out. But I think there are about 50 episodes.
Wow. So that discipline and that regular measured approach, have you found that successful with YouTube?
100%. Yeah, I find, and I'm no expert in all these sorts of things. I'm really just kind of winging it when it comes to trying to build a channel. If I see things that people respond positively to, I stick to it. And one of those things was regular update, people knowing when it's going to come out. And I get comments from people going, it's just a natural part of our Saturday morning. I get up in the morning, I make my coffee, I sit down and I watch Alex does. Yeah, great. That's it. And I get that from a lot of people. So do I. You know, so that's got to be good for the channel.
Well, given that, and I guess as a fellow YouTube creator, we get influenced by different people, and we get these ideas from people.
Yep. 100%.
Who have been your big influences?
Oh wow! Look, going back a long way in terms of the outdoors stuff and my love of outdoors and camping. And at the risk of losing any of your audience that are under 45 years old, many of my influences are from way back when I was a kid, through the 70s and 80s, back at the pre-internet when we only had 3 TV channels. So these were guys like Leyland Brothers, Harry Butler, Malcolm Douglas, Les Higgins, the Bush Tucker man. Then later through the 90s, obviously Steve Irwin was the big one. And then as YouTube grew, the big Australian content creators that I like to follow, Chris Bamman, I've got to give him a shout out, and he's followed my channel for some years before I started doing the outdoor stuff. He followed my channel. He's a legend. He's a big guy, and I find his stuff really entertaining. And so through lockdown, I started watching a lot more of this content before I'd started making it. And another one was Craig from Bushcraft and Camping Adventures. I was watching his stuff as well, and that's when I started making my own outdoor camping content. Through lockdown, I was watching this stuff and I thought, I need a purpose in life. I was looking for something I could focus the YouTube channel on, because I hadn't done anything since I'd done the Building the Motorhome series. 1st of June 2020, we were released from lockdown here, and I went camping that weekend. I went camping to the same spot the following weekend, and then on the 3rd trip I went back to the same spot, and I thought, I bought myself a GoPro. I thought, I'm going to do this and I'll just make camping content. And it was after that point that then Craig from Bushcraft and Camping Adventures reached out to me, and we started chatting, and we've become friends. And then I saw that he was building a bushcraft shelter, and I thought, yep, I'm going to have a crack at that, just to explore that creative side of myself. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier, and I've got to give him a plug, Mr. Dedman himself. Oh yeah, Gordon Dedman. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly guys you watch on YouTube, I think, for entertainment factor, and there's a small number you watch because you know they know what they're doing. Yep. And Gordon's 100% one of those. Yep. And I learned a lot before I started on how to conduct myself in the bush, how to go to the toilet, how to start a fire, how to build a shelter, all that sort of stuff. So they're the guys that I want to learn from. Yeah, 100%. Thinking back, either through your childhood or more recently, what's your favourite memory from the outdoors? Yeah, sure. Look, as I mentioned, back in those early days through the 70s and 80s, where I kind of began to get that love of the outdoors, I was also fortunate enough to grow up in an area that, whilst being a suburb not far from Sydney, on the Central Coast, was surrounded by bush. Back then we lived next door to a farm, and so a very large, it must have been maybe 20 square kilometres was my playground, and it was all bush. Okay. And so if you'd get out of the house as soon as you could as a kid, and this was back in the days where, even as a less than 10-year-old, you were allowed to roam and come home when the streetlights were on, sort of thing. And so spent a lot of time out in the bush. But fondest memories, I think, of camping was during those teenage years. There were a group of friends, and we used to go camping in caves up near some local dams up in the bush. and we just had so much fun. We got up to a lot of mischief, and probably doing some things we weren't supposed to do, but that's where I probably fostered my love of being in the outdoors and just that freedom of being away from society and away from the constraints of parents and things like that. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, we've dodged a bullet there.
And and so I've carried that through, and funnily enough, once I got into my 20s, I camped a couple of times, but then it stopped. Life took over, work took over, the mortgage took over, and family, and all those sorts of things, and I kind of lost it. And again, that was my motivation for doing this on YouTube. Was a big part of reconnecting with my childhood and those things that I loved, just the basics in life.
That is a mental health break,
100%.
Isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
No, I couldn't agree more. So talking about, you know, happy and all that sort of stuff, the one question, what makes you happy in the bush?
Yeah.
And what makes you mad in the bush?
Yeah, look, what makes me happy is that disconnect from society. And there's so many times this has actually happened where I've had a week or a fortnight, because I come out once a fortnight as a general rule, where things have been happening in my personal life, you know, work issues, family issues, money issues, and things I might see happening out in the world, and you know, it brews in your mind and you stew on these things. And I'll even be on my way out here going, I've got this issue with this bugbear that I'm just going to talk about it on camera and get it off my chest. And by the time I'm here, within 5-10 minutes, I've forgotten it. It's gone. It's just dissolved.
Yeah, wow.
You know, it's just you and the bush and the animals and the wind and the smells and the noises. You become so absorbed in that that you forget everything that's happened. And it's just like an instant mental reset.
So it's therapy, it's cathartic, it's
100%
all these
therapy. Yeah, and cheaper than a therapist.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I can promise you through experience. But look, in terms of what I hate, yeah, there's probably two things that I hate, and they are very closely related. The first is rules and regulations. I've never been one to want to adhere to rules and regulations. I mean, I'm a very law-abiding person, and if there's a rule in place, I'll abide by it. But there are some things that frustrate me to do, particularly with coming out in the outdoors. Places you aren't allowed to go where I'd like to go, or places where you can't camp where I'd like to camp. If you are camping there, you're not allowed to have a fire, or you can't do this, that and the other. And those rules, though, I can understand are in place because of the second thing that is a big issue for me, and that's a very small minority. And I know it's a minority, but it's people who have just an absolute disrespect for nature and for the bush and the environment, and for absolutely no thought for how their actions are going to impact other people that are coming out into the bush. So it's things like leaving litter behind. Just destruction of the environment, cutting trees down, just leaving crap everywhere, leaving toilet paper around the place, those sorts of things. So I can understand that the first is in place, the rules are in place because of that, but both those things together I find really frustrating. There's a really good video by Dedman, and he's over, I think he's in Norway or Sweden or one of these Scandinavian countries, and he goes camping, and he talks about how over there it's just inherent within society, this kind of natural respect for the environment and the bush, such that they don't have these rules. They can go wherever they want. Wherever they go camping, they can cut firewood, they can have a fire and all these sorts of things, because they know that people are going to be more respectful of the environment and the area they're in, and leave no trace, you know, and take their rubbish out with it and all those sorts of things. So in Australia, I think we're kind of missing that, which is sad.
Yeah, okay, cool. Another question, what won't you leave home without to come into the outdoors?
Wow. Okay, yeah, look, there's a couple of big ones. For me, it's all around safety. So the first thing I won't leave without isn't so much a thing, it's a practice. So I won't leave home without notifying my kids that I'm coming. So I have a group chat. I don't live with any of my kids, they're adults, they've flown the nest, so to speak. But we have a group chat where we all communicate together. And so on days when I'm coming out camping, before I leave, I say to the kids, right, I'm going to camp. They know the GPS location of this site. They also know where I leave my car, because there's no mobile reception here. And they also know, or I let them know, an expected return time. So I won't come out without doing that. I've done that for today, even though we're just doing this interview. So they know I'm here. And then they know if I'm not back by the expected time, because they always hear from me before then they need to possibly consider putting in place actions in case something's gone wrong.
Brilliant.
The next thing, again, is safety related, is my PLB, the locating beacon, again, because there's no mobile reception here. So I'm aware that even though the chances might be slim, they're always possible. So I have to take into consideration the fact that I'm old and fat and lazy and unfit,
yes.
and I'm trying to do a very much a physical exercise out in the bush that's very remote from my office life and my sedated life at home. And so the possibility is always there of even just a fall, of, you know, breaking a leg, snapping an ankle, becoming immobile. There are venomous creatures out here. We do get red-bellied black snakes and other brown snakes and things. We do have funnel web spiders. All that sort of stuff is completely possible.
Australia, mate.
And it's Australia. And I don't have an issue. I kind of love that, you know, as we do as Australians. And so without that PLB, I just wouldn't come out here. So that would be another thing. And probably a third thing would be my toiletry kit. And again, this harks back to the issue I have with people leaving toilet paper and all that stuff everywhere. It bugs me, you know. You go on these bushwalks or trail hikes and things, and as the further you get away from society, you'll see levels of rubbish and litter dissipate slowly, but the last bit of rubbish you always see disappear or goes on forever is toilet paper. You know, people going and doing their business in the bush, and then they either bury it and it gets dug up by animals, or they'll leave it hanging on a tree as some sort of signal not to come here, and all these sorts of things. It just drives me nuts. So for me, I have a toiletry kit. It's a waterproof bag, and in there I have a packet of wet wipes that I use instead of toilet paper, and I have a Ziploc bag. And once I've done my business, the used paper goes in that Ziploc bag. I pack it out of here and it goes in the bin when I leave.
Yeah, great.
You know.
Fantastic. All right, so your day job, we talked about this in the lead up to the interview, and you said you couldn't mention it, but I understand that you may have a... tell people what you do rather than...
Yeah, look, what I do, so the industry I've worked in for a couple of decades really is very much, it's all office based, it's call center based. I've worked with call center based within a couple of different industries, generally service industries, so it's always been around some sort of service delivery, some sort of customer service, or even technical support, or just being able to provide a need or a help for someone in a certain situation. So that's what I still do now in an office based. It's very removed from what I do really in the creation of the channel, except for the fact that even there's that aspect of the YouTube channel where I'm still providing offering some sort of assistance in a small way. People do take some of the things I say as advice, or things how to do things, even though I profess on channel that I'm no expert, and I'm just kind of making stuff as I go, but people do take from that. So I'm still offering a service, or there is a service delivery through the YouTube channel, which is kind of related to what I do at work.
So it's essentially, it's in your nature then?
Yeah, 100%. I've always been a helper, you know, wanting to be there for people in need, or you know, even just provide some light-hearted entertainment. You know.
Yeah, okay. No, fair enough. So if you weren't doing this mysterious day job, what would you be doing as your ideal job? Oh,
look, 100%, I'd be a full-time creator. And it might not even be on YouTube, but where I feel most fulfilled is creating something from nothing, and that's why I love YouTube. It's almost like the camping and even the building of the shelter. It's a means to an end, really, to give me a creative outlet to be able to. One, obviously, there's the creativity of building a shelter out of stuff I pick up off the ground, but then also it gives me an avenue to explore video editing and that artistic side, and I really enjoy that too. So if I was going to do something full-time that's not my current job, that's what I'd be doing. I'd probably have half a dozen different YouTube channels. There's so many things at least there's so many things I'd like to explore. I'd like to have a cooking channel. I'd like to have a channel on cars where I build or restore cars. Maybe just one where I flip cars for profit. I'd love to have a video channel a YouTube channel where maybe I start with an empty plot of land and I build an off-grid house. So
is there a possibility that we're going to get a noun in Alex Does to finish the sentence?
Yeah, maybe. That's why I dropped the DIY, because originally it was Alex Does DIY, and I thought once I started the camping I wasn't doing so much of the DIY, and I thought if I drop the DIY I can just apply anything at the end of that.
Yeah, wow.
And it's just because it's always, my life is just, I'm not formally trained or educated in anything, but I love learning. Yeah, Adam Savage from Mythbusters.
Yep.
I was listening to his audiobook, and he described himself as a collector of skills. And that's kind of like myself.
Brilliant,
so
brilliant, love it.
I like to learn new skills. I don't need to be an expert in anything. I have this thing where I'll have a desire to maybe produce something or learn a skill or want to be able to do something. And like I've taught myself welding and metalwork and woodwork and all sorts of things, electrical work and building my motorhome and the solar stuff and being off grid, all that self-taught. And so, but I'll always get to a point where I can pass as almost competent and know that if I continued down that path, I would become expert if I wanted to, but I don't need to. I'm good enough with where I'm at. Let's move on to another thing, because it's always that journey to go from nothing to, yeah, I'm good enough. Let's move on and do something else.
Well, hey, you may get to the point, you keep being so self-deprecating in your videos and say, hey, not trying to teach or be an expert here. You may end up becoming quite the watched man in some of this.
You never know. I did joke in my current video that I could probably do a lesson on wattle and daub now that I've done enough of that. I could probably. But again, YouTube's full of people who are self-professed experts who claim to know everything, and that's not me. Go and learn your own journey. If you take some stuff from my content, that's great, fantastic, love it. Let me know. I'll join the conversation in the community. But
trust me, I'm building a fireplace from your videos alone.
And look, I don't want to be in a position where I'm telling people how they should or shouldn't do things.
Yeah, fantastic. So, given that, and you've spoken a little bit about it now, where do you see the future? Give us a 5 or 10 year glimpse into the future.
Yeah,
where you'd like
and probably 10 years is about the limit. Like I've just turned 50 this current year in 2021. So it'd be last year, I would assume, when this video comes out. So I've just turned 50. I've probably got maximum 10 years left in me of producing this sort of content. So I don't know. Look, I'm definitely not done here. So there are still some unknowns with my shelter. I still need to figure out a roof. It needs a door. It needs a bed. I'd like to expand outside with a second fireplace. So there's a scoop for you. I'm going to build a second fireplace outside because I like to focus on the cooking, and the fireplace inside, the lighting's not great. So I figure bigger outdoor fireplace, maybe something big enough to do a pig on a spit and all those sorts of things.
No pizza oven?
Well, okay, here's another scoop for you. I don't know if I want to mention. No, I'm going to give this one to you. I'm going to build a door for the fireplace that's inside.
Okay.
So you can shut it and use it like a pizza oven.
Fantastic.
So that's in the plans, that's in the works. But further on down the track, I'd like to do maybe, look, it's hard because my interests are so eclectic. There's so many things I'd like to explore that I haven't done before. I'd like to do some fishing videos. I'd like to do maybe just some hiking to different locations and camping videos. I'd like to do like four-wheel drive vlogging videos, even though I don't have a four-wheel drive, but that's something I'd like to get into. I could do motorbike vlogging, and I've never ridden a motorbike, but that sort of thing really interests me. So there's no end to the possibilities of what I might explore. I won't box myself in and say this is definitely what I'm going to do. But all I really know is I want to build my YouTube channel to reach, next goal will be 5,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers and beyond, because it's my motivation for the YouTube channel, and my advice to anyone wanting to start a YouTube channel is you need to be clear on your motivation. If you're going to get into this genre for the purpose of making money, you're not going to last. The work is too hard, and you're looking at, yes, there are exceptions, but generally you're looking at years and years and years of many hours every week and no returns. So my motivation is to leave a legacy for my kids, so they've got something that they can look back on. My grandkids now watch all my videos and they love them. So there's a record of my life for a good 10 years on YouTube, or more really, since 2014. And look, if there's any sort of financial generation from that beyond me, once I've left this earth, and it can put a little bit of pocket money in their pockets once I'm gone, that's just the icing on the cake, really.
Yeah, beautiful.
So that's my motivation that keeps me going.
Fantastic.
And building a community too, which is kind of something that I wasn't really expecting to happen as much as it has been around these videos, is the growing community and the conversation with the people online.
Yeah, well, I reached out to you and you came straight back to me, and as
I love
the other
it.
guests. There's not as much of it happening as there is in the UK, and more so the USA.
Yeah.
We have a fantastic supportive community, and a fantastic supportive subscriber base.
Yeah.
Quite a few of your subscribers are my subscribers.
Yeah, 100%. And I've noticed that I've noticed sharing of subscribers between a few guys, like, and you know that. So there'll be people I chat to, and I'll go and watch someone else's video, and they're chatting on there, or maybe I've got them from them, and they've come to me, or vice versa, and to you back with some thoughts. And again, this is why I love this video idea, and collaboration between different content creators in Australia is something that I don't think happens as much as it happens overseas. And I've talked about this on my videos before, where I think it's something we should foster and grow, that ongoing community to support each other, because I think together we'll all benefit more than if just as a bunch of individuals.
What an absolute pleasure it was to sit and chat with Alex at his bushcraft shelter. If you haven't seen his channel, I'll put the link in the description. You've got to go and check him out. Such entertaining, such an accomplished bushcrafter. I think you won't be disappointed. Also, all the other guys we spoke about, I'll put their links in the description. They're also worth a look. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Share it with your friends. Please leave a comment. And thanks for watching.